Let's see this. Try to get that a bit closer. Alright. Much better. Alright, hi everyone. So what I'm going to show today, hey everybody. So what I'm going to show is basically how we can land one of the better combos from Kazuya. So basically, for the uninitiated, down forward 2 from Kazuya is a pretty good move. One of the reasons why is it leads to a pretty big counter hit juggle. Right, so most of the time what you'll see people do is, sorry, something like that, pretty serviceable damage. There are other things you can do with this as well. That's supposed to work. Apparently not, okay, but then another thing you can do is okay, and you get the idea. So this move here is homing and it's 14 frames. Pretty impressive considering it's faster than most of the launches in the game. But what makes this move really and truly impressive is that you can do one of the hypest things in all of 3D gaming, and that is counter hit down forward 2 into perfect electric. So when you do that, what happens is you get a proper launch. But to be able to do that, your opponent needs to be in a standing state so that launch actually takes place. Because if they're not in a standing phase, so I'll just show you an example here. If they're floating, that's what happens. If they're standing, this is what happens. So the idea is, to get the electric to launch, the opponent needs to be standing. If they're floating, it won't actually launch up like that. So I'll show it again. So something like that. That wasn't electric, but the idea will still be the same. That was an electric, but it did not launch. All it did was float. Now the only way to get the electric to hit in a standing state is the reason. So the idea is that this standing phase is 13 frames. And Kazuya fortunately has a 13 frame version of the electric. It's often called the perfect electric. So my opponent will be in the standing phase for 13 frames. Perfect electric is 13 frames. 13, 13, it is a 1 frame link. So, okay, yeah, you're probably thinking, okay, 1 frame link, Street Fighter, I did all of those. Mind you, it's a 1 frame link of a just frame. In order to land this, I have to land the down forward and the 2 at the exact same frame. Otherwise, I just get the regular version, it would be too slow. And even the electric I did just now is not even the perfect version. To get the perfect version, I need to either get that, which is forward, neutral, down, forward, and get the just frame, or, sorry, I'll do this a bit better on here to go on here. The other version is that, forward, down, down, forward. So it's so fast you don't even get a neutral. Those are the only 2 13 frame options that are doable for this sort of scenario. So if I land this 1 frame link, which as you may already guess is pretty hard, I will actually get a standing launcher and it leads to enormous damage. I'll just try to show you how much potential there is in this move. But I'm going to struggle with this a little bit, but I'll get there. Almost. There we go. So I can get the full standing launcher there. Mind you, you saw how many times I tried to do that. it's not easy to do. So anytime you see this sort of stuff and the commentators go, oh my god, it's because it is very hard to do. Hi Axis. You can hear me fine, right? Just to confirm. I can't help you there, man. China internet, don't look at me. Alright, so basically, yeah, I'll just do this again. I'll just demonstrate the damage potential. It is literally why you have to respect down forward 2 as a move, and you have to respect Kazuya as a result. But again, this is very hard, so I'll be attempting this a few times over. I almost got it there, but I was a bit too early. Ah. Come on. Oh, button's getting stuck. Ah, come on. Are you serious? It's happening now. The one time I want to do a tutorial and my buttons are sticking. And I'll be honest, I do this a little bit better on player 2, but I've done this on player 1. As you can see, I'll do it again, trust me. Just indulge me for a little while. I could have got that. There we go. Oh my god, I'm supposed to do the whole combo. No worries, we'll try it again. So as I said, I'm not kidding, this is actually very difficult to do. Oh my god, why is it doing this now? I'll get this, I will get this. Oh my god, stuck buttons, stuck buttons. There we go, finally. That's 90 damage. That's significantly well beyond half health, right? I haven't even gotten to the wall, and I haven't even maximized wall carry and yada yada. You get the idea. This hurts. If you land it, it's going to be a lot of damage. This is not even rage. There's no wall carry. You get the idea. This hurts. But as you can see, you're well rewarded for the execution. Admittedly, I think I could have gotten it a bit earlier if my buttons weren't sticking, but that's a whole other matter. But what I want to bring up today is the fact that you can actually pull off this combo. This is a somewhat similar combo somewhat easy, in a way that's a little easier. So I'll be getting into a bit of frame data. So now just to go through roughly how this works, okay? Every move in a fighting game will have startup, which is how long it takes for the move to come out. Active is when the move actually connects, when it actually does the hit. And recovery is when the move is pulling back into this neutral position here where he's free to move and stuff, right? So if I do down forward 2, it has 14 frames to start off. So it's 14 frames that I'm committing to this move. At the 14th frame, it makes contact. And then after that, there's recovery. So you'll see that the entire animation, he turns blue, right? Now, when you see this, you'll see it start up, active, recovery, the whole phase goes through, right? Now, let's just go through some setups on how we can get this going. Or let's go through some common down forward 2 setups. And I'll also go through the frame rationale bit as well, okay? So the best one I think he has is down back 4 into down forward 2. So this setup, this is pretty much timeless. You've seen a half decent Kazuya would have done this at some point in their life. So the rationale here is down back 4, the low there, is +4 on hit. So when it makes contact, the Kazuya that hit me with it is in a 4-frame advantage, right? So that means if I were to press my fastest button, the jab, it'll be 4 frames slower in comparison to him. That means if I'm 4 frames slower, that means my jab will be 14 frames to come out. Down forward 2 is 14 frames. So if I'm 14, he's 14, it'll collide. But what's going to happen is, it will cause a trade. But before that, let's just show you how this actually works, how this setup works. I'll just do something a bit slower. Sorry, let's try that again. Clean, like that was down forward 4, that's his fastest mid. Now if we try to jab, it causes a trade. But you'll notice now how, right, we talked about the startup active recovery. You'll see that how he has this blue thing going on, right, that shows you how he's still in the middle of the move. You'll notice that when I do the jab and it causes that trade, that blue phase is a lot shorter. It ends a lot quicker. So I'll show it one more time. You notice how he like almost recovers a lot quicker? That's what we're going to exploit to land this combo more consistently, okay? So let's just show this one more time. Right, so we see that it's a pretty decent counter hit. So anything that's slower than 10 frames is going to get a clean counter hit. No trade, nothing. And that's the trade. He recovers a lot quicker. Right? So now with this in mind, we can actually land a standing launcher a lot easier because he recovers a lot quicker. I don't have to worry about the standing 13 frames. Okay? So then you're thinking, okay, I can land this trade down forward too, but how am I going to be prepared to actually land the launcher in the first place? If I've not practiced it, how am I supposed to land it in the match? Right? So it's a fair point. I mean, I'm one of those people that I like to practice something before I can play it, before I can do it in the real match. So here's what I've thought of, right? And you can actually replicate this with any character. So for Kazuya, his down forward 1-4 is -4 on block, especially if you don't duck the high. So I'll just demonstrate this. That's -4 on block. So the idea is, because he's given me frame advantage, if I do down forward 2 and he does a jab, it will cause that trade effect. So we'll show it right now. Right there. So now we know how to set up things up here, right? Now let's just see if we can land the same launcher that we tried earlier for umpteen times. That same very difficult height launcher that we were talking about, okay? Oh, come on. No worries. That was literally the second try. That was pretty straightforward. And you look at my inputs. It's not any of the 13 frame versions. It's not the forward, down, down, forward. It's not the forward, neutral, down, forward. None of that. It's just plain old electric, the way you've always seen it. Right? Look, and that was my third attempt. I got it again. But the point is, the idea is, if you pick any character in the cast, the idea is to make sure that they are at -4 or that you are at +4. So pick any character, do any move or string that leaves them at -4, and then have them jab immediately right after. So that way you can do your down forward too, and then practice to get the electric. And it won't be very difficult. Again, that's literally the next part. A bit slow there, but no worries. Okay, the stuck button is really annoying me now. Why did that happen now? But no worries, let's try that again. Stuck button, stuck button. Okay, so again, I've literally tried it 5 times, I've gotten it 4. The first time, plain old execution error. Now you find the other thing that's interesting is you don't even need it to be an electric. You can even get a regular wind god fist. Admittedly, it has to be kind of fast, but you don't need the electric to actually land this. So let me just try to just demonstrate that. If the stupid thing will stop sticking. Try that again. That wasn't even electric. Again, that was pretty fast though, right? It could have been 14 frames. Let's try that again. Come on, I've been practicing electric so much. There, look, that wasn't electric, and I still landed it. That's how reliable this is. That's how powerful this is. I don't need that higher level of execution. So the idea is, right? The idea is if I land this down, okay, let me turn off power hit for a second. So the idea is, if I land down that forward 4 and then into down forward 2, there's only one of two things that can cause a trade: a standing jab or a dig jab. Nothing else can cause that kind of trade that you saw just now. All right. So with that in mind, when the situation pops up and I see the trade, I'll be ready to electric. I'll be ready to win god fist. I don't need the electric, and I'll be prepared. So the thing that I'm looking for to, for future reference, if you guys want to try this out, the thing I'm looking for is when the screen actually zooms out. When that zoom finishes, that's when I input the launcher. A bit too early there. I did it too early. Okay, so the zoom has finished, and that's when I input the launcher. Now, there are two key things that you need to know about this particular combo that you're going to try. So a regular staple with Kazuya, especially an electric one, that's kind of my staple, but for most of his combos, down forward 1-4 is the screw. Now, the problem with this particular combo though, and I think this is the reason why Ryan Hart never used a down forward one or after the counter hit launcher. The reason why it won't work is just, it's too angled, it'll just whiff. Too slow, I'm going to try that again. See, it completely whips. It's unreliable. So what you'll have to do to make the adjustment is you'll have to do the electric dash. So you'll have to change the staple to something that's more consistent. So this is what Ryan Hart does. He will use back 4 instead as the screw. Sticky buttons, I swear. Okay, so you can use that, or the other thing you can do now, that's a combo that you may want to learn actually, because it's very consistent off axis as well. Okay, we try the other side. And then back turned. Okay, so that's a combo that you may want to learn if you're using a lot of side steps, side walks, right? So when you do this particular combo, when you land this traded down forward 2, make sure you switch the screw or switch the nature of the combo. So you can either do electric back 4 or electric dash 314 into your regular staple. Okay, so I'll just demonstrate that. Come on. Oh my Lord. Right, so something like that. So that's one thing you can do. You can switch the hell sweep for any number of enders you have. CD3, back 3-1 to electric. It's all your choice. Right? The other thing you can do, as mentioned before, you can do dash up 3-1-4. Sorry, let me try it again. Oh my Lord. Oh, no. Right, so those are two combos that you can opt for to make sure that this combo actually, you can maximize the damage off of this, okay? Sorry, just a second, please. Okay, so now, that's the first thing I want you to keep in mind about this combo. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is that you notice here this Kazuya is doing a standing jab. So this combo is actually made easier because of the standing jab. In fact, the idea is, you know how we talked about 13 standing frames? Well, now if you interrupt the jab with a down forward 2, you have at least 18 frames, 18 standing frames to work with. So I'll demonstrate that now. Not how it's supposed to work, and try it again. You notice how with down forward 3, he's still standing. Down for 3 is 18 frames. So that means 18 frames of standing, 18 frames for down for 3, they collided, right? So that means when he did the jab and it traded my down for 2, it left him 18 frames in the standing state. Okay? But if you were to compare this to if you were to use a dip jab instead of the standing jab, it will leave me in, I would have less frames to work with. So instead of 18 frames, he would have 15 frames of standing state. And to me, I mean, I've tried doing this today, it's quite hard to actually pull this off. So let me just show you, assuming I still have this set up. No, that's not it. Alright, so we have the dip jab there, right? Okay. I can't pull it off as consistently. I'm not pulling it off as consistently. The reason that is because the dip jab, for some reason, I think maybe it's because it's targeted, it's leaving me in more hit stun than usual. So that means he's no longer as, I'm no longer as plus, right? So it's to the point that he only is 15 frames standing instead of the 18 that was in the last situation, right? So I'll just demonstrate that here, okay? Sorry, let me try that again. So he's 15 frames standing. He may be 16, he may be 17. Unfortunately, Kazuya doesn't really have a move that is 16 or 17. That's 1 frame input that I can test this with. But again, he's at least 15 frames standing. Still a lot easier it's still easier than having the 13 frames for the frame perfect electric. But to me, pulling off this combo to me is still pretty tough, even though it's 15 frames, because even if you had the perfect electric or the regular electric, you're still working with a very tight window. I can try to pull this off, but again, this is going to be pretty tough for me. Come on. So it's like I'm not even nearly as consistent now. It's a very big frame difference that I'm working with now. In fact, it's closer to the tight 13 frames instead of the looser 18 frames. So in short, it's still pretty tight, but it's definitely easier than the 13 frame window. I'm not gonna keep doing this, but I hope you get the idea that it's not as simple. As a matter of fact, I can even prove that it won't even be, there'll just be 18 frames. So you know how we did the down 4-3 at the test? Notice how he floated? That means he's already in the floating state. He's no longer in the static state. But okay, let me just try to get this. This is pretty tight. I'm going to try maybe 2 more times. One more. I give up. This really feels wonky. In fact, it's so weird. I'd rather just do the just frame version than do this. But yeah, so basically this is how you can practice for that particular situation. You know, when down for 2 trades, you know, how can you it illustrates how can you prepare yourself for that big launcher, right? The idea is make sure that whichever character you pick as the training dummy, make sure you're using a move or a string that's -4. And then from there, leave him to jab immediately after, whether it's standing jab or jig jab. And then from there, practice. Look for the zoom out and then launch. So you'll notice that there's a bit of a discrepancy, right? He could either standing jab or he could either dig jab. Very similar circumstances, but you can tell that the results are very different. So what I would do now, having discovered this, is I would actually have both scenarios shown here. And then I just down forward 2, and then look at the opponent. I want to see if there's a standing or a crouching state. That way I will know whether to commit to the electric combo or just do another combo instead. Try that again. So this is like a hit confirm more or less. Because so I saw the crouch in his body. So you can see he was standing. So now I can register it and then do the regular electric. Let's try that again. Oh, come on. So that time you should be crouching.
Yeah. We're still playing. Okay. Where are the boys and nuts for the computer table?
I left it on the shelf, the metal shelf.
The shelf, where?
The one where Amma keeps all the books.
Where is that? Can you give it to me?
Okay, after this.
Huh?
After this.
Keep it for a minute, lah. Yeah?
I'm streaming!
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry about that. Anyway. Hi, Ziggy. So now, again, let's just demonstrate the whole standing and crouching thing. Sorry, let me try that again. So that time he was crouching. I won't commit to the electric. Instead, I'll just go for the 3-1-4. But again, you can actually see the states. So that one was standing, so I was ready to do the launch. That was crouching. Crouching. Oh. Why is this happening? Hold on. Okay, so that was the crouching one. Also crouching. Standing, but I was too slow. Crouching. So, pretty hit confirmable if you ask me. Just gotta time that dash a bit better. Come on. Right, so you get the idea. This is it's very doable. It just takes a bit of practice. Try it out with other characters if you're so inclined. Just make sure again it's -4, and then have the jab immediately after, so the down forward 2 will connect, okay? Because yeah, this will have its application for stuff like this. And just to show it again, how that will look. Same scenario. So if you're playing Kazuya, if you land a down back 4, if you down forward 2, that electric is much easier to land. And this is how you can practice it. Just make sure your opponent's -4, and then just practice the launcher right after. It should be pretty straightforward. And then when you're in matches later, you'll be ready to pull it off. Just make sure you look out for the way your opponent is either standing or crouching. Okay? And then you would think also that forward 4 is +4 on block. But because it forces crouch, you won't be able to pull it off as easily. So just keep that in mind. Okay? So similar scenario, but because it's crouching, it won't be the same easy launcher that I was doing earlier, the 18-frame standing version. Okay. So this really works best with down back 4. Okay. So yeah, down back 4, down forward 2. If down forward 2 trades with a standing jab, just do a regular launcher. You have 18 frames. That's more than enough time to pull off most of the launches in the game. Okay. And then you can get the disgusting damage that we saw earlier. Alright? So that's about it. If you guys have any questions or any other thing you want to run by, just put a comment, just let me know and I'll be glad to answer any questions. For now, thanks for watching and take care.